You didn't lose that rally because your smash was weak. You lost it before your racket even moved. It sounds harsh, but coaches who analyze badminton matches keep seeing the exact same pattern. Players blame their technique. They blame their racket. They blame their fitness. But when the replay slows down, the real problem is usually much simpler. Their feet were late, and once your feet are late, everything else becomes damage control. Your clear feels rushed. Your drop shot floats too high. Your smash loses power. Even your best technique can't save a shot when you're arriving a fraction of a second too late. Here's what's surprising. Two players can have almost identical strokes, but the one with better footwork often looks like they're playing a completely different sport. Not because they hit harder, but because they're already there before the shuttle arrives. That's why a player with worse technique can sometimes beat someone with beautiful strokes. They simply get into position first. Today, we're climbing the 7 levels of badminton footwork. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly where you are, why you've been stuck there, and the one habit that moves almost every player to the next level. But make yourself one promise before we start. Don't choose the level you wish you were. Choose the level your feet actually play at. You might be surprised by the answer. Level 1, the reach and lunge. Everyone starts here. The shuttle flies away from you and your first instinct is simple. Reach, stretch your arm, throw out your racket leg. Hope you get there. There isn't really a base position. There isn't a recovery step. There isn't much planning at all. You're not moving to the shuttle. You're falling toward it. Every shot outside your immediate reach feels like an emergency. Sometimes you make spectacular saves, but they're exactly that, saves. Not controlled shots, not balanced shots, just desperate attempts to keep the rally alive. Against another beginner, this might be enough. Against anyone who can place the shuttle into open space, you'll constantly feel one step behind. The rally doesn't feel fast because your opponent is fast. It feels fast because you're always reacting late. If you've been playing for more than a few months, this is one level you should already have left behind. Here's the crazy part. Level 1 isn't where most players get trapped. The real trap is what comes next. Because now you're moving. You feel like you're improving. But one hidden mistake keeps costing you rally after rally, and most players never realize it. Level 2, the running step. This feels like a huge improvement. You've stopped reaching for every shuttle. Now, you actually run. The shuttle goes to the back corner. You sprint, plant your foot, hit the shot, mission accomplished. Except, not really. Because you're running like you're chasing a bus, not playing badminton. You wait until you know exactly where the shuttle's going before you even start moving. By then, you've already lost precious time. Yes, you eventually reach the shuttle, but you almost never reach it early. You arrive just in time, or slightly late. That tiny difference changes everything. Your body isn't balanced, your options disappear. Instead of choosing the best shot, you're forced to hit the only shot you still can. And here's the biggest problem. After hitting, you admire your shot for a split second. Instead of recovering immediately, you stay where you are. Now your opponent has the entire court to attack. You aren't losing because you're slow. You're losing because you're always moving after the shuttle has already told you where to go. Watch this carefully. This is the moment badminton stops being about movement, and starts becoming about footwork. Those are not the same thing. Movement gets you to the shuttle. Footwork gets you there early enough to stay balanced, recover faster, and control the rally instead of surviving it. And that's exactly where almost every recreational player gets stuck. Level 3, the comfortable trap. If you've been playing badminton for 2 or 3 years and still lose to players who don't look faster than you, you're probably here. And don't worry, this is exactly where most recreational players spend years. Sometimes even decades. On the surface, everything looks right. You know what a base position is. After every shot, you move back toward the center of the court. You feel like your footwork is good enough, but that's a problem. Good enough is where improvement quietly stops. Here's what's actually happening. You're standing at your base position, but you're not loaded. Your knees are almost straight. Your weight sits back on your heels. Your body relaxes while you wait to see where the shuttle goes. Then your opponent makes contact, and only then do you start moving. That tiny delay is costing you far more than you realize. Think about a fighter jet sitting on a runway. One has its engines turned off. The other has its engines roaring, ready for takeoff. From a distance, they look exactly the same. But the moment the signal comes, only one launches instantly. That's the difference between standing at base, big, and being loaded at base. Almost nobody realizes this. Standing in the right place isn't enough. You have to be ready to explode before you even know which direction you're going. That's why players who seem slower often reach the shuttle first. They're not faster, they simply started earlier. And that tiny head start changes the entire rally. Here's where most players make a huge mistake. They think, I need stronger legs, I need more speed, I need better fitness, but none of those fix the real problem, because the next level isn't about becoming faster, it's about becoming earlier. Level 4, the split step. This is where footwork stops being a habit and becomes a weapon. The split step is incredibly small, just a tiny hop, but it's timed to the single most important moment in every rally. The exact instant your opponent's racket contacts the shuttle, you land with your feet about shoulder width apart. Your knees are bent, your weight is on the balls of your feet, your muscles are loaded like springs. Now, the moment you read the direction of the shuttle, you explode left, right, forward, backward, without hesitation. Here's something that surprises a lot of players. In high-level badminton, players perform a split step before virtually every opponent's shot. Not sometimes. Not only during important rallies, almost every single time. It becomes completely automatic. Now think about the opposite. If you skip the split step, or do it too early, or do it too late, you're giving away precious reaction time on every rally without even realizing it. And that's exactly why so many club players feel like they're always chasing the shuttle. It's not because they're slow, it's because they never prepared to move. Here's the best part. This doesn't require stronger legs. It doesn't require expensive coaching. It doesn't even require more stamina. It requires one habit, repeated hundreds of times, until your body does it automatically. And this is where most viewers realize they've been blaming the wrong thing. They thought they needed a harder smash, a faster racket, better technique, but what they actually needed was to arrive half a second earlier. That tiny difference can completely change how badminton feels, because you don't just hit better shots, you have time to choose them. And once that happens, the game starts slowing down. Not because the shuttle is moving slower, because you're finally moving at the right time. But what separates advanced players from everyone else isn't just reacting earlier. It's learning to move with almost no wasted effort. That's where level 5 begins. Level 5, efficiency wins matches. This is the level where advanced club players start looking effortless. Not because they're dramatically faster, not because they're stronger, because they waste almost nothing. Every step has a purpose. Every movement sets up the next one. Instead of running wildly across the court, you begin using efficient movement patterns like the chast step to cover ground smoothly without taking extra steps. When you reach the shuttle, you finish with a controlled lunge. The moment your racket makes contact, you're already pushing back toward your base position. Recovery isn't something you remember to do. It's automatic. Now you're covering all 6 key areas of the singles court. Forehand front, forehand midcourt, backhand midcourt, forehand rear, backhand rear. And you're doing it using the fewest possible steps. Here's the crazy part. Watch professional badminton in slow motion. It almost looks like they're floating around the court. They're not. They're simply eliminating every unnecessary movement. Most recreational players think they lose energy because they're out of shape, but very often they're just taking twice as many steps as they need. Imagine 2 players competing for an hour. One takes 4 steps to reach every shuttle, the other takes 3. That single extra step doesn't seem important until you've played hundreds of rallies. By the 3rd game, the difference feels enormous. That's why advanced players often look fresh long after everyone else starts breathing heavily. They aren't saving energy by trying harder. They're saving energy by moving smarter. And once you experience this level, badminton suddenly feels less exhausting. Not because the game became easier, because your movement became more efficient. Here's something to watch the next time you see an international match. Don't watch the shuttle. Watch the player's feet. You'll notice something surprising. The best movers almost never seem rushed. Even during the fastest rallies, they're already preparing for the next shot before they finish the current one. That's what efficiency really looks like. But now we reach the level that separates advanced players from almost everyone else. Level 6, explosive rear court movement. When the shuttle is lifted deep into your back corner, most players chase it. Level 6 players attack it. Instead of simply running backward, they load onto their racket leg. Then they explode, upward, backward, and slightly rotationally. They strike the shuttle at the highest possible point, then rotate their body in the air so they land already facing the net. Before their feet have completely settled, they're already recovering toward base. That's why elite players can unleash a full power jump smash and still be ready for the very next shot. To most spectators, it looks effortless. It isn't. This movement demands explosive leg power, excellent balance, core strength, precise timing, and hundreds of hours of deliberate practice. Almost nobody develops it by accident. Here's what many players misunderstand. The jump itself isn't the goal. The recovery is. If your jump smash leaves you stuck in the back corner, you've won the highlight reel, but you may lose the rally. Elite players don't jump because it looks impressive. They jump because it helps them attack without sacrificing court position. Now we've crossed into a completely different category of badminton. At this point, speed still matters. Power still matters, but neither is the biggest advantage anymore because the very best players don't just move faster. They know where they're going before everyone else does, and that's a final level. Level 7, reading the game before it happens. This is where badminton stops being just a physical game and becomes a mental one. At level 7, you're no longer reacting to the shuttle, you're reacting to your opponent. Before the shuttle has even left their strings, you're already reading the clues. The angle of their shoulders, the position of their racket, the rotation of their hips, the movement of their wrist. Tiny details that most players never notice, but once you learn to read them, you don't have to wait for the shuttle to tell you where it's going. You're already moving. Watch elite players in slow motion. It almost looks like they're guessing. They're not. They're recognizing patterns their brains have seen thousands of times before. That fraction of a second is the difference between gliding into position and making a desperate last-second lunge. But there's another side to level 7. You stop giving away your own intentions. Your preparation looks exactly the same whether you're about to smash, drop, clear, or play a fast attacking drive. Your opponent can't read you. They're forced to wait. And the moment they hesitate, you've already taken control of the rally. This is why badminton is often called chess played at full speed. The shuttle may be flying at incredible speeds, but the real battle begins before it's even hit. Nobody reaches this level by accident. It takes years of deliberate practice built on every level that came before it. The truth: almost nobody trains. Here's the part that should make every badminton player stop and think. Most players spend hours practicing smashes, hours practicing drops, hours practicing clears, but ask them to spend just 10 minutes doing shadow footwork. And suddenly it feels boring. So they skip it. Practice after practice, month after month, year after year. Here's the crazy part. The biggest weakness in your game might not be your shots at all. It might be your feet. Because even perfect technique can't save you if you're always arriving late. That's why more top academies are putting a bigger focus on movement training than ever before. Video analysis, motion tracking, slow motion breakdowns, even virtual reality training. All designed to answer one simple question. Why were your feet late? The technology is new. The problem isn't. For decades, rallies have been won and lost long before the racket ever touches the shuttle. So, what level are you? Be honest with yourself. If you're at levels 1 to 3, don't be discouraged. You're learning to reach the shuttle, but your timing is still holding you back. If you're at level 4, you've unlocked one of the biggest turning points in badminton. Your movement starts working for you, instead of against you. If you're at levels 5 and 6, you've built real movement skills that most recreational players never develop. And if you've reached level 7, you're no longer just covering the court, you're controlling it. Here's the truth. Most people watching this video will probably place themselves at level 4, but after seeing themselves on court, many will realize they're actually level 3, and that's perfectly okay because improvement starts with honesty, not ego. If you're level 3, you don't need a new racket, you don't need stronger legs, you don't need a miracle training program, you need one habit: split step the instant your opponent makes contact with the shuttle. Every rally, every point, no exceptions. Do that consistently for the next 2 weeks, and you'll be amazed at how much slower the game suddenly feels. Not because badminton changed, because you changed. Now it's your turn. Drop your honest footwork level in the comments, not the level you wish you were, the level your feet actually belong to today. I'm genuinely curious to see how everyone scores themselves. And before you leave, one tiny timing mistake can make your split step completely useless. Most players make that mistake every single game without realizing it. That's exactly what I'll show you in the next video. Watch that one next, fix that single habit, then come back and tell me which level you've climbed to. Because better badminton doesn't start with a stronger smash. It starts with your very first step.